Hello everybody and welcome to Pay360 here in Old Billingsgate in London. My name is Tyler Pay. I'm a journalist here at the Fintech Times and I'm very, very happy to say that now I am joined by the Power 50 member, Stephen Winyard. Stephen, how are you?
I'm very well, Tyler. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. This is all very familiar, isn't it?
It is. We've done this a few times now, which is nice.
We have, yeah. I think you're like probably the most reoccurring member of this interview.
Well, that's good. I wonder why.
It's a series.
It is a series. Yeah, it's a bit like Coronation Street for open banking.
Episode 3?
Yes, I think so.
No, or 4 or something like that.
Oh, I don't know. You're getting into EastEnders territory now.
But yeah. And when they finish the interview, they're going to do like a duh. You know. I think that would be good.
Well, actually, it would work well with the London theme, you know.
Well, yeah.
That EastEnders sort of thing, yeah.
It would be appropriate, right? But you're a Power 50 member. We're very, very happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Before we get into our very thorough conversation, why don't you give our audience who don't know who you are, why don't you give them just a little bit of insight into what your position is? Who is SaltEdge? Who are you?
Yeah, absolutely. So SaltEdge are one of these rather beautiful entities. It's been trading a decade. We're an open banking TPP. And we do a few things. We do the PSD2 compliance for banks and EMIs, which is all very exciting and high in demand. We also provide the sort of full suite of gateway services, which is all the payment initiation and account information services to various fintechs all over the world. We also get involved in advising countries and new governments and new areas where they're trying to introduce regulation. You know, what works, what doesn't. Taking our findings from the UK rules and regs, the Berlin Group, and everything else that the team have been, working with, things that are good and things that aren't, and we get sort of called in to advise. We also work with a lot of really beautiful partners, people like Finastra, Toom, Mambu, Modular, and others, as their open banking sort of arm, and we help them with a lot of their clients. So we're quite spread, obviously very focused in what we do, but we're about 140 people now. And something we always like to tell people, I think we're one of the few that's genuinely profitable. We're one of those self-sustaining companies. I often say you never get fired for choosing SaltEdge. We're in a great place, and we got a lovely team of people, and we enjoy what we do.
That's good. It's a refreshing answer, actually. Yeah, it's nice. Should we start? There's a lot of different elements that we could take this through, of course. But I think maybe we should just start. Could you give us a little bit of an update as to what the current situation on open banking in the UK is? How has it changed from the last time we met? Or is it still the same?
I think it's probably still the same, but there seems to be more excitement and impetus that we're right on the edge of that tipping point now. And I remember the last time we spoke, I said that a lot of the job that we do, not just me, but the other guys that are in the open banking world, our competitors who are our friends really, a lot of what we do is educating. And I often find that we're kind of, depending on the kind of client, there's less education now, but we're more focused on use cases and trends. I think there's a lot more appetite for open banking. There's still a long way for it to go, but we're finding a lot more engagement, especially in payments. In fact, there's two areas. On account information, driven by, I guess, the gaming and the gambling market and new regulations about affordability checks, that's highlighted the need for what does AIS actually provide you with. We've been doing a variety of case studies on clients such as tenant vetting, as to why a tenant can now easily get approved, or not approved, but we hope approved for a tenancy, going through an open banking provider. So we did a case study with a really lovely client of ours called KeySafe, bit of a shout out for them, who did a cracking job with this, but it's actually profiled and highlighted other people in that market to now come forwards and go, oh, hold on, I think that'll work for us, it'll make our life easier and faster. So that whole education bubble is definitely working. But when I say payments, we're now engaged with quite a few mid to very high volume retailers, or people that are doing millions of revenue a day are now looking at what is open banking payments going to mean to us. Is it good? Is it bad? What's the difference? Do we bring it into Europe as well as the UK? So there's lots more. And also, frankly, from our sales pipeline, we're like 40% up on last year already. Oh yeah, and demand is really, really high. So yeah, we're busy now.
I've seen it. In terms of the use cases. I've seen examples of it being used in like debt management. But the example you gave with the sort of tenancy evaluation, I thought was really, really interesting. In the UK, of course, we have the OBIE, which is sort of like guided the implementation of open banking. I mean, how do you think they've done? And do you think that now that we move into sort of the future sort of open banking group in the UK, do you think that will take it even higher?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they have always had my admiration. They take on the good, the bad, the ugly, the regulators, the industry, the banks, the opinions, and they do a really, really good job. It's a very good resource as well of information for perhaps other companies that want to check whether the open banking company they're going to look to work with is there and is listed. So yeah, they do a really, really good job, and it's a very good platform for sharing thoughts and opinions. And these things are vital in what we're trying to do. Whilst there's rules and regulations and things that we're all doing, actually, like life, a lot of people are pushing boundaries. What can I do with this? What can I do with the data? There's complexities into the type of agreements people have, whether they're a partner, whether they're an agent. Can they release the data to the consumer or the client? It's all of this. There's it's a very complicated world for two words. As I've always said, open banking can be a 200-page technical contract by the time you finish sorting it out. So yeah, the OBIE do a brilliant job, and I think that's probably underpins why Britain's, in my opinion, Britain and the Nordics, I hear, and I don't know whether I know which one's the best at the moment because I hear both are competing, but obviously, I'm British, so Britain first.
Of course. Yeah. You mentioned a little bit in your introduction how SaltEdge has been sort of advising different jurisdictions outside of the UK on open banking. Can you give us maybe just like one example of where that's been the case?
GCC and Saudi.
Really?
Yeah, we've yeah. Oh, have you? Oh, right.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, we've had a team out there for about the last year and a half because obviously they're putting in their sort of regulations, and a lot of the banks are asking for guidance on the right way to do things, which part of the regulation should they adopt, shouldn't they adopt, it probably wouldn't be fair for me to reveal all the parties we're working with, but it's very rewarding when we're asked to go in an advisory capacity. So we're not there to sell anything, we're there to guide and advise on what we think they should be looking for, what we think they should be doing, other areas where there might not be conformity, for example, across the UK and Europe. We're saying, look, these are some of the sort of the playing grounds that we think you should look at. So it's been, it's always nice when people ask you for your opinion professionally, and we can give it.
Of course, yeah.
So.
Do you think that taking the GCC as an example, do you think that what they want to get out of open banking is different from the activity that we're seeing in the UK, or is it?
No, not really. No, I think the banks want to provide the greatest of services to all of the fintechs and the TPPs over there, and they want to provide that fantastic suite of financial services to the consumer, to the consumer and the business. So no, they're very focused on it, and of course there's a huge amount of financial trade in that whole area. So they're probably going to end up with some of the most wonderful platforms and systems, I would imagine, and they all want to get it right. Nobody's looking to cut corners. Obviously, they want to get it absolutely right and deliver the best they can. So yeah, it's, and I think that's following the world.
Yeah. Where do you think that people are? I mean, not specific to any region, but people who are looking to go into open banking right now. Where do you think most people are going wrong?
What, as in companies that are trying to get into it?
Yeah, like companies trying to adopt it.
Oh. That's a good question. You haven't asked me that one before. I don't know where they're getting it wrong. I think where their challenge will be is, do they want to try and compete with people like us that have spent a decade building our own connections to the banks? Because it does take forever. It takes a huge amount of investment and resource, millions of pounds, and it's also probably 50 to 70 people every day that are managing those connections to keep them alive. So I don't know. I guess if I was starting an open banking company today, I'd have to think long and hard about, am I going to do this myself for whatever reasons I want, and then try and compete with companies I guess like SaltEdge, you've got one of the world's greatest coverages. They might as well partner with us, and we love that as well. Let us help them achieve what they want in the market. The market's big enough for many people. So yeah, I think the challenge is, and also I guess the way they try, their business model, what is it they're trying to get out of open banking? What services are they going to deliver? And the other things I know from being involved in negotiating open banking contracts, the expertise you have to have in the business, because trust me, not one person knows the answer to everything. So I think any company would have to think long and hard about the skill set they have to try and offer a very broad service. So they might end up just being very small in little areas, and obviously good luck to them. I love anyone that tries to start, but it's quite tricky.
Yeah, I can imagine so.
Yeah.
One thing that you sort of alluded to there was sort of the power of partnerships and collaboration, right? Do you think that that's sort of like the secret key to making the most out of open banking to really?
100%. For example, we have clients in the gambling arena that are in discussions with us to provide them with AIS services for affordability checks. Now, that's just one small part of actually the suite of services they need. So work with one of our identity providers where we've plugged in our little pipe to do the open banking part, but they do all of the rest of the job. So actually that power of that partnership in that instance is just so much better for the client. And when we're working with some of the banking as a service providers, we can't offer their skill and expertise, but we can partner with them, and we're just a small slither of what they do. So yeah, the partnership is huge, and also you bring in other expertise. We work with some of the banks as partners, and when they're trying to offer a solution to their clients, we are literally, and I say literally we're literally just their open banking part, but they might be wrapping a huge suite of other products on, which is the way a true partnership should work. So yeah, I think I've always been a massive believer in it. We can do well on our own, but we'll do better with help. It's human nature.
I mean, like you talk about your partners sort of taking your open banking capability, which is obviously great for them and their services, and the services they're able to provide to their end customers. But what is it, if anything, that you're taking from your partners that makes it?
Oh, well, quite often we get involved in new sales opportunities where the person we're speaking to, let's say it's an EMI that's setting up, they've got their license and they're looking to place an order for someone that does banking as a service. We've got clients that we work with, we can introduce to them and say, look, you should work with our partner in this instance. So we reciprocate that wherever we feel it's appropriate. Because it's not our core expertise, but we know it's something that they're all very good at. So yeah, we do it with many people. It's, we know where we're good, and we're sticking to that, and we're trying to get better at it. And working with others just means you've got a richer market offering, which is ultimately the way to win better business, I think.
When is that ever a bad thing,
Well, no, it isn't, frankly. Ultimately, it's the consumer at the end of this journey that is the one that benefits me and you. So if that company has been, provided with the right people to do the right business with, and it just works and works well, then that's how you do well, I think.
That's happy.
I think, you'd like, yeah. I mean, I think I've just described utopia, which of course is never always the case. But yeah, generally, we love working with our partners. Our partners provide us with a very high percentage of our annual revenue. So they have a tremendous amount of love and respect from us.
Yeah. Well, in terms of, we're in a new year now, 2023. What can we expect from SaltEdge? Have you got more partners on the way? Have you got any more announcements you can reveal to us?
I do love to answer that question. We are working with some others that aren't quite ready for the press, but they're all very strategic partners that are pretty significant in the world, either in the banking world or big technology partners. But we're also looking to partner with people to take us into new territory where we have no life there. We're a Canadian registered business, but we're working very hard on how we get the right people to work with into Canada and in America, and partner with other firms we've identified in LATAM and Brazil. So yeah, we've got other key players that we're working with, because we can't take over Canada in open banking. You have to work with others to try and do that right. So we.
Fantastic. Well, in our conclusion, I mean, now we're at Pay360. We're coming sort of towards the latter end of day one. What are you hoping to get out of your attendance this year at Pay360?
I don't know. I guess I like to learn. To be honest with you, I like to learn to hear what people are saying, what other people are thinking. I haven't been on any of the panels here, but as you know, I sit on quite a few of these panels. I like to make sure that it's not just necessarily my opinion coming out, but it's a learned opinion from my peers, other people who I admire and respect that are in this trade. When they're sharing, they're good, they're bad, they're ugly, what they're seeing, what they're feeling. And if it all fits in with, the experiences that SaltEdge are having, then, and an event like Pay360, you've got some of the finest payments and fintech firms on the planet here, so that frankly there's no better place to come for opinions from people. It's you have to learn and you got to listen, so we love to do that just as much.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, Stephen, thank you very much for joining me here
That's
today.
a pleasure, Tyler. Nice to see you again. That's all right.
And I'm sure this won't be the last conversation we have.
Well, I guess I'll see you at. Are you doing MPE?
MPE, no.
Berlin.
I'm not sure.
Money
2020. Probably Money 2020.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
Yeah,
then.
Next episode coming then.
Yeah, episode 5 of EastEnders. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's lovely chatting. Thank you
no worries,
very
mate.
much.
Appreciate it.